you have sent and created in your behalf, that are now one with you. And they never have to do it. They don't want to do it. The highest realm of the astral, where souls and angel souls have first evolved in self-awareness, is a state of freedom and joy and endless potential. Not a realm of suffering nor death. And they don't want to leave that realm and experience this. They just want to know of it. So they have enslaved humanity, and I'm not just talking about humans. They incarnated and have incarnated as animals as well, and work in groups. Some of these oversouls work in groups where they incarnate as animals, species of animals, and experience that. Some of them humans. Everything is being brought back to these 72 who are angels that are doing unto the self what they do not want to have done to their own souls firsthand. That is why I term them as fallen angels. Now, beyond your own physical embodiment, and I told David, I said, I've had conversations with the soul that I have been created from, that called himself my higher self. I asked him, I said, when was I first created? Do you remember the moment you first created me out of my, was it before my body was born here as a baby? And yes. And I was instructed that I must, in order to become free, attach myself to DNA, attach myself to the embodiment of an embryo, and then that grew into a fetus within my mother here in this realm. And I was led to believe that when I was released, I would be free, just like David. But I would never be free, because what happens is then David draws me into his essence of his soul. Now David does this as many times as he desires, and not just in the realm of Kageken or Malkuth, but in also more subtle realms with other incarnations. And I've talked about these realms in some of the videos on the channel called The Essence of D. And then eventually, when David wants to become more than what he thinks he is, he will give his soul experience and everything that he has accumulated through the incarnations of other souls that have become one with him back to these 72. And he will end his ability to forever act within time and space as a soul, as an angel. And you may say, well, he's not dying because he's becoming one with Ben. That is not a truth. Ben sees herself, has her own personality. In fact, I've been told that the soul of Ben that has millions, right now I was told there are, in the groups that are incarnating under the oversoul of Ben, at least 44 million people on the earth at this time in the year 2008, 2009, that will eventually all merge back into their higher selves, and those higher selves will eventually merge back into Ben. Ben is a female. Male sees himself as male. David sees himself as male. He has chosen that personality for himself after his first incarnation. But when David merges all of that he has experienced through his own experiences in the higher realms and his one incarnation here firsthand, and the incarnations he has sent down here after him that have merged with him, he will see himself as Ben, but he will not see himself at all. He has just created a chain, a fragment collected within his self, a fragment of other souls who have been created and died, and have all of their memories stored in David's higher self. David then gives it to Ben, and David is now dead. Now, there is no corpse, but David is dead, because now David can never forever act within time and space as an individual and forever evolve. Now it is only Ben that partakes of the tree of life. And that is why these 72 gods, so-called gods, they call themselves gods, and they have in all the cultures. That is why they are the only ones to experience eternal life. Yet they are not different from those that they have created. Every soul that is ever created by one of these oversouls is an offspring of the self within time and space, and should be allowed and not barred from the tree of life, and should be able to forever act like those oversouls. But they tell us we are less. can only carry out this whole entire scheme of lying and beguiling souls to do for them what they do not want to do for themselves but have the knowledge of, by telling us we are less, and setting up a hierarchy or a system in the lower realms of the astral where we perpetuate that lie. It is a lie. And the hundreds of billions of other angels, there are only 72 out of the hundreds of billions of angels that forever live within the self that have done this. And they are looked down upon because they are creating other souls within time and space and teaching those other souls to do the same thing, telling them that they must embody their offspring into lower realms and then draw them back into their essence, and then someday those higher selves will be drawn back into these 72. They are creating other souls within time and space and not giving it the same eternal life that those 72 have been given by other angels that created them within time and space. And that is why I term them as fallen angels. And in the process of this, now we have perceptions of death and suffering, not just on the planet Earth. I have been told that in Pleiades, in the Pleiades system, there is a planet where one of the groups comes from. The 72 have 4 groups, and I've talked about this in my other videos. And Andromeda has another group that comes from Andromeda. And the 22 souls of the Kabbalistic group that came up with the Kabbalah, are the 22 of them joined the other 50, and now there are the 72 names of God. Excuse me. These oversouls are creating perceptions of suffering and death within the one self that we all share, because they are doing to the self what they do not want to have done to their own self. No soul desires to suffer, nor die. That is why the 72 neither suffer nor die firsthand. In order for them to experience these things, and incidentally, I've been told again, I want to reiterate that I've been told that they do this not out of a desperation to figure out what love means. There is no end to joy. And there is no end to evolving in joy. But they were curious. And they wanted to set themselves up as gods. And tell everything that they create, every soul that has been created from them, that eventually gives all of its experiences back to them, that in order to have the tree of everlasting life, you must be me. But the lie is, you never will be. You are dead. Once you give yourself back to a soul that created you, you are dead within time and space, because you can never, ever continue to evolve and grow. And every event that is recorded that has ever transpired within the realm of duality in these lower planes, all of the memories of these events are eventually given back to those 72. All of the memories of the sufferings of animals and the lives of humans, eventually all of those souls, the 72, receive them all, but never have to do it themselves. So in essence, they have done to the self what they would not want done to their own souls. That is the only way suffering can exist. The only way that suffering and death exist, and perceptions of suffering within the self, is if you see